All right, welcome back to another live episode of the relationship series. My name is Gina, and this is my brother, Sam Spataro. Always talking about the matters of the heart and mind. And this one tonight is huge because, it's so easy to talk about trust and say, oh, this is how you trust somebody. And then you go through the ringer in a relationship or friendship, and then it's like, okay, what do you do now? Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit later. But Sam, how has your week been?
Phenomenal.
You're looking great with your
Thank
workout.
you. Yeah, I am going to recommend all those individuals out there who are looking to get into shape. Go online, type in Beachbody on Demand, join the program, and it will change your life. It's phenomenal. I'm into my second program now. I'm down 12 pounds, and I haven't missed a beat in over 30 days. I've worked out pretty much every day, except for last Sunday, which I thought my instructor said that we had off, but it was actually like a stretch day for 30 minutes.
Oh.
I know, and I didn't realize to put on the program, and I'm like, wait a minute, day 7. I thought she said, it was a stretch day. So anyway, I missed that one, but it wasn't intentional. But I feel great. I've lost weight. I'm just, I got to be honest, I've never been prouder of myself. And
awesome.
I'm 44 now, and just killing it. Just, we're, my partner that I had for 2 years in the construction business, he retired last week on our last job together. And now it's myself and his worker that he had, and we're gelling really good positive flow and energy, and just really good. We have a really good connection at work, and just really enjoying work, which I haven't in a long time. And came home tonight and cleaned up, had dinner just before this video. Said my highs to my kids, and I don't know, I'm just, life is really good. I'm enjoying the warm weather. And I got to tell you, ever since I've started this workout program, I've been paying a lot of less attention to the things that are going on.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, like COVID and economy, and because you really don't have time when you're doing things that are making you productive and transforming your body, your mind, and all those sorts of things, because that does take up a lot of your time, but
100%.
the rewards from that are so much more beneficial than the other. Anyway, how are things with you?
Excellent. Great week so far. It's Wednesday, right? Great week so far. Very productive. Honestly, I had to write a checklist of things to do because I was falling behind on some maintenance things. And so had a really good productive day today. So feeling good as well. Nothing to complain about. Okay, so tonight's discussion is based on trust. And, it's not just intimate relationships that you trust. It's work relationships. It's friendship relationships. It's even trusting your own self, right? Which is a huge one. Trusting your decisions, your intuition, a lot of that, right? And where does it come from? Is it taught? Is it something that's innate? All of that. Okay, so what are your thoughts, just broadly, Sam, on the concept of trust?
Well, I personally believe, your cultivation of what trust is a very dynamic view of capturing very significant moments in your life with interactions with people of influence.
Right.
So, whether they're positive or negative, that's for everyone to decide. But those really have a direct correlation, I believe, in the amount of trust that you're going to have later on in life. And that means, the trust in yourself to always do the right thing, to never second guess yourself, to always speak your mind, to always respect another one's opinion, or, trust on the other side, which is, always second guessing yourself, always doubting what people say to you. And I mean, the list can go on and on and on. But in a nutshell, I truly believe at the core of me that, whether you learn to trust,
Mm-hmm.
truly trust, which is real trust versus fake trust, is cultivated through very dynamic and impactful experiences in your life with the people that were very close to you.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you. I think it's also impacted once again by people in your life that are very close to you. And the there's a big question where it's like, okay, when your trust is broken, can it ever go back to the way it was? Can you ever rebuild it to the way it was? Because I always feel like, and I know for me, I don't think it can, personally, and not unless both parties are willing to do the work on rebuilding that trust, because there will always be that nagging thought or, process in your head that's like always trying to figure out the truth, if that makes sense.
See, I'm going to challenge you on that.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to learn how to trust someone and give into trusting someone who has broken your trust when
Okay.
you see specific things change in their behavior and actions.
Right.
Behavior and actions cultivated through a various amounts of experience is going to determine the amount of trust or lack of trust that you have in a person and whatever that relationship is. So, for me, truthfully, I would say, it's easy to relearn how to trust again if you can see deep-rooted changes in the character of that person that broke it initially. Because let's face it, I mean, there's those that, there's those people around in our lives that you don't even contemplate trusting them. Like,
Yeah.
I trust you with my whole life.
Yeah.
And then there's those that I give fake trust to because I know deep down there was certain things that were done and said that don't add up to 1 + 1 = 2, even though they make you believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Their actions and behaviors don't match their words. And over time, if it happens enough repeatedly, it will break that natural instinct to want to trust.
Right.
Right? Because now you're on, well, now you're not on, you're in the, the old reptilian brain where you're always like on alert. Right? Depending upon how deep-rooted the relationship is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not a deep-rooted relationship, then maybe it won't strike you as much. But
Right.
if it's someone that's very close to you, whether it's, a colleague, a business partner, your intimate relationship, whatever it is, right? At some point, deep down in your gut and in your intuition, whether or not you're convincing yourself to trust that somebody or it's just naturally occurring.
Yeah, and do you think it's situational too?
In what
Because,
way?
like, let's just say at work, let's just say someone applied for a job that you wanted, right? And they knew that. Do you think that is like an instance of breaking someone's trust? Because I think a lot of people lose trust in situations like that. And I personally wouldn't constitute that as something that is magnified as like excessive,
Well, I mean, and once again, it's all in the eye of the beholder.
100%.
Right? I can tell you, from work experiences that I had where, through a duration of our relationship, there was a cultivation of experience where someone I was working with was coming up with these thoughts and things that had happened that actually didn't happen.
Right.
And, whether, I look back and I think, was there little things I said or that maybe that I did that, made them feel like, like I was being sneaky or shady or I was like, conspiring behind their back, so there's also that, right, where it could also be an imagined thing where you don't trust that person because your mind makes up false claims and stories about an experience you have with somebody, right? Or, it could be an instance where it's a work situation where you told somebody you were looking at going for that job position, and maybe at that time and for as long as you know, they've never had any interest, and all of a sudden they've had interest, and now they got the position and they're applying. And you feel like they just stabbed you in the back, and they betrayed your trust because you confided in them that you wanted to do this, while not thinking that at the same time motivated them to also apply for the position.
Right.
So, there's so many different dynamics, when it comes to, trusting someone or giving somebody fake trust or not trusting them. And I think really what it comes down to, when it comes to trust, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
It's a feeling where it feels nothing but goodness.
100%.
Fake trust, is where you're trying to convince your mind to connect with your heart to create this false sense of reality that, you should have trust in this person or whatever, right? Yeah. And that comes with a whole slew of things, because if you continue to do that with somebody, over time, you can start to create a lot of false sense of hope, a false sense of what reality will be like. And over time, that can be very wearing on your spirit, your self-esteem, your self-worth. It can then flip you into a state of anxiety and depression and a whole slew of mental health issues, because now you're faking it to yourself.
Yeah.
And when you're being fake, as well as I do, it's almost like an act of betrayal. And I know for myself, when I put myself in those experiences, I've hated myself.
Right.
And I beat myself up for doing it, for, whatever the reasons are, but I totally agree. I mean, there's a complete difference between real trust and fake trust, and it really is going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. And I think you hit it, perfectly when you said, the real trust, you just know. And the fake trust, you have that hope where you should trust them, but there's always that question mark, right? And, if you really evaluate the people in your life, like how many people do you categorize into your real trust versus fake trust? But it would be interesting to actually put these people on sides to be like, oh, wow, like this is where my loyalty stands with people. This is where I find other people's loyalty stands with me, right? And how much maybe energy and effort are you going to continue putting in those relationships? Because that's it too, right? The energy and effort that you put into relationships with people that you have a false sense of trust with, right? This conjured up idea that it should look like this, but it doesn't feel like this, right?
And when you don't feel it, you're faking it. And that comes with negative consequences. And look, I mean, real trust versus fake trust, people being authentic versus not being authentic, people that you catch lying to you versus, people who are truthful. I mean, at the end of the day, we are imperfect. And I, for one, will hold myself accountable to lying on occasionally in my life. Yeah. And by nature, humans lie. It's innate in us, because it's just a natural reaction to try to protect ourselves from, not being loved, not being accepted, and the fear of being judged.
And right? Right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a whole slew of things. Now, however, where it becomes, toxic is when it becomes a little bit more deep-rooted, right? Where the effects of the lies, or you confide in somebody that crosses a line with your moral compass, and, I think in that unique experience moment, ultimately what will help you to, once again, confide in them or to understand and trust freely and naturally and openly is going to be completely dependent upon how they react in that instance. Do you feel they're being authentic? Do you feel they're being accountable? Do you feel like they understand?
Right.
Right? And I'm going to say for, more times than less, that's not the case.
Right.
And what will happen is, depending upon your nature and your personality, a lot of the times you will let it slide and slip. And then over time, you start to develop wounds and scars and sweep things under the rug. And eventually, you can't sweep things under anymore because it's full. You can't hide it anymore because there's nowhere else to go.
Right.
And then that ugly thing starts to eat away to you. That villain in us all starts to eat away at your spirit, your energy, your well-being, your self-worth, right? Because you're not being true to you out of the fear that, that thought that you create in your head, with that fear that you have of that relationship with this person. Is it going to break if you push the envelope a little bit more?
Yeah.
Will they understand if you continue to push your point of view, even though you know that they're in the wrong? And let's flip it on the other side. Maybe it's you, or maybe it's me, or maybe it's someone that, broke the trust. You're not the one. Now you're the one that needs to make that other person understand how you can regain that natural instinct to trust in them again. So you just, when it comes to real trust versus fake trust, I think it's really easy to have them, kind of go hand in hand if a few things take place when an experience happens. And that is, that person is being authentic and accountable.
Right.
That person is willing to sit there and understand and listen to everything that you've said, to help them understand what they've done,
100%.
to cross that line. So that's a good feeling of how to deal with trust issues. On the flip side, the toxic side, the fake side, is when things take place where people don't become accountable. They become toxic when you push the envelope to get the truth, so they can understand how it hurt you, so they can understand that, so that they can then figure out a way to grow in that instance to not cause those types of feelings and situations that come up. And what happens is, if you push envelopes with certain type of personalities, they don't take accountability.
Right.
Right? They will walk away in frustration and anger and make you feel, you'll start to doubt yourself in that instance. Were you right for bringing it up? Weren't you? And then you'll start to begin to betray your own trust, which is naturally acting on that instinct to directly talk to somebody because there's a sense of hurt and loss in that moment or in that experience. So I think really what it comes down to, if you want to become your own hero when it comes to trust, is you have to be authentic. Right. You can't betray yourself, and you have to hold other people accountable, just as you should hold yourself accountable in any situation, whether either you've broken trust or someone has broken that with you.
Yeah, I agree. And this is a big one, right? Like, I'm guilty of it too, where in the past, like when trust has been broken, I have found it very difficult to retrust somebody, and it shows up a lot. It shows up a lot. So you're right. I think the strategies and the know-how of seeing how someone's putting the work in to be better and to prove, like the patterns that you once knew don't exist anymore, is also a work upon yourself, right? Where it's like, okay, does forgiveness need to happen? Does letting go need to happen? Because I believe they're all tests. And they're tests for you for a reason. And what is it trying to teach you, right? And you're right. Are you forcing yourself into the fake trust zone where it's like, this should happen, and I'm just going to force it to happen, but it still doesn't feel right? And if you're still at that nagging point of being indifferent between real trust and fake trust, you need to become clear. I think you're absolutely right. Is there anything you want to end on, Sam?
Yeah, so I think it's very important, if you're ever in a situation, no matter what the relationship is, and you're faced with a moment where someone's, broken that trust with you, you also betray their trust in that moment, where even though they're not being authentic, not being accountable, doing the things that they need to do, and they're wrong on,
right,
and you walk away after they even say, "Are we good?" And you're not, because you're trying to avoid more heartbreak and confrontation, all these other things, you're also breaking that real trust as well
Yeah, you're right.
by not pushing the envelope, because we grow either voluntarily or when we're pushed.
Yeah.
Right? So pull yourself to do these things, right? In a moment where it's so uncomfortable and your mind's wreaking all the fears you need to think about, that, you need to be authentic,
Yeah.
right? And just keep building on that. And if you're with somebody that doesn't share the same values and beliefs when it comes to dealing with these things when they come up, then, these are things that you need to either, one, go seek help and counsel with to help resolve these things, because clearly you and that individual can on their own. And if it's not agreed upon thing where one is willing and one's not, then listen, time is the most precious commodity on this planet. There's 8 billion people on this planet. Do not waste another day of your life, regardless of how deep you are in with them, with that person.
Right.
Set them free, set yourself free, and go find someone else who shares a commonality in growth and becoming better while we are also imperfect at the same time.
100%.
And if people need help with that, what we could start doing too, Gina, at the end of these videos, in the shared part of this, is we'll share our coaching platform so people know how to access it. But we have a coaching platform on Clarity where we can help work with you to develop your own personalized relationship program. And it's a fast track to solving problems and creating solutions so that your relationships, no matter what context you're in, can be about the matters of the heart and mind, because you can't have one with the other to live a fulfilled life.
And on that note, like Sam said, this is a relationship series, always talking about the heart and mind. Don't forget to please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can get notifications on your phone when we are releasing a new video. Okay. On that note, we will see you all later. Ciao for now.